Welcome in to the Rhonda Lou Moxy Show. How are you doing? Today, we are going to step into living in gratitude. It's one of the things that I didn't understand how to do, and it just sounded boring. I was like, well, if you're grateful, then where does that go? I'm not grateful for everything, and I never really gave myself time to dive in and be able to really know what that looks like. And today I want to get in deep. This is the perfect week. We're in the week of Thanksgiving, and that's when people start coming together. Maybe even you slow down a little bit so you get an opportunity to think about what you want in life, the love, the way to connect with everything you're doing and every step that you do. So every step that you do, are you going in the right direction? Gratitude gives you all of that. It's a way of taking a step back, taking a breath in, and feel the energy in your body if you give yourself time to. But it's a choice. It's a choice, but it's also understanding what gratitude actually means. So when you put your hand to your heart and you start feeling something like it just feels different than just go, 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 race, race, race. Let's keep going. Let's don't stop, to being calm and being able to hear yourself more. I find that when I was going on vacations, that's when everything would just hit me really hard. Because the first thing is, I always thought, well, if my body hurts by the end of the day, I'm doing fabulous. That is perfect because that means I worked my butt off. And to get somewhere, you got to work your butt off. Now I realize the slowing down is what creates life. You get to actually hear what's not working, what is working. So let's talk about those things today. Let's talk about, we have like 30 minutes together, and let's have conversation around how it is to be thankful for everything that's around you and what that does for you, what that does for people around you too. Maybe perhaps even help them grow. Now, this is the Rhonda Lou Moxy Show. I'm always discovering how can I live bigger, bolder, tenacious, wild, and crazy, and do it in a way that feels strategic, feels like I'm opening my path up more and more, that I'm not slowing myself down, but I'm listening. And I'm not just doing, but I really am listening. How are you today? What's been going on for you? Getting ready for the week of Thanksgiving. There has to be so many things going on. Let me bring in one of my plaques. I have 3 plaques that I use. This is the second plaque. This plaque I call Unleash Your Moxy, Sexy, Wealthy Life and Business. They all have their names. The first one is the Wake Up one, and the last one is the Diamond Moxy. So on this plaque, and you may not know the full story about how this came together, but I believe it had to do with me learning about gratitude and slowing down and really listening to what was going on, and not just through the brain, but allowing those downloads, those insightful moments that awaken everything. Like all of a sudden you start realizing there's more to it than just the brain working really hard. But if you give the brain a rest, open up the heart more, and let it be more coherent together, work together, there's something magical about this. And that's how this plaque really got created, is I just kept hearing these words. And it would be like our brain works in a bum bum bum, bum bum bum, bum bum bum, like kind of like a 3 cadence. And I have some books over here, and my 2 books, The Fit Solution, and then also 14 Days to a Flat Belly. Those 2 books, their subtitle, there's 3 words, and it's how the brain works. And so starting to write, as an author 15 years ago, I didn't think about that I was an author, but I'm writing every single day and I'm speaking and I'm opening my voice, which is what the Rhonda Lou Moxy show really is about opening the voice. All right. So this is the second plaque. This is about living resilient in your passion and innovative. This all connects with everything. Everything tethers together. And the one that I'm going to focus in on today is resilient. And I think that if we start looking at resilient and resiliency within ourselves, that something starts stirring in us, because we have our good days where we're just like, no big deal, everything's going awesome. And then we have days where we show up and it's like, okay, I feel insecure. I feel like I can't get anything done. My brain can't focus. If I can do the basic easy tasks, but usually I'm doing more creative stuff, working with clients, being very creative in their health and wellness and their business. And lately I've been helping people launch their podcasts. So if you're interested in launching a podcast or relaunching your podcast, I would love to talk to you. This is where we bring your business together, your voice, your words that you use, and being able to connect that with income in your business. So I'm excited about that. So with the resilient model, you probably might not be able to read it, but it's about, sometimes we get lost in the second part here because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 steps before you get really into the resilient space. There's like steps to get to this. And a lot of this is about sexy and roaring and crazy because it's the second pillar, which means you're already starting to really get in there. You're unleashing your moxie. You're not at the beginning. Now you're like getting wild and crazy, but you're grounded with your information and what you're doing. But the confusion is where I find that if I slow down, then I can start feeling something different. I can hear when I start getting confused. I can feel when my body starts slowing down. I can tell when I need to take a stop and do some more meditating because I'm not showing up as my biggest, brightest, bolder self. And that's where I strive to be every moment. We have to remember we're human, though. So allowing ourselves to be human, that's the forgiveness, allowing ourselves to not always show up the best that we know how to. Maybe in front of people that we want to look a certain way. And we realize how uncomfortable that can be if we're not in alignment. But if you start taking the brain away, you can feel more things. And that's where the gratitude resides. So we'll be talking about building resilient, listening to when we get confused, and finishing it off with your gratitude work. So my question for you is, if you take your hand to your heart, you take a breath in, and you start thinking about these things, you know that I want to feel something different. I want to feel something different. And what is that? What is that? You slow down and there's something there. Maybe something deeper than what you've ever felt before. Or maybe it all feels the same. And that could mean that you may be blocking yourself for the moment. Keep practicing putting your hand to your heart, because this is where you get the space of learning about your definition of gratefulness, of living in gratitude. I can remember a story here. I can remember when I first started my business about 17 years ago. And I was going to do 10 days of gratitude. No problem. It's so easy, off the cuff, like, because I wasn't in alignment with how much I was really struggling. So this is the beginning of when alignment started happening for me. And I feel like I'm in deeper alignment than I was 17 years ago and consistently working, doing this work. like really getting into what's working for me, what's working for my family, what's working for me and my husband, the insightfulness about being a partner. So when I put my hand to my heart, my definition of gratitude is like last night. There's some times I was struggling. I woke up and I couldn't sleep. I'd probably been awake since 1 today, 1 a.m. Got a lot of things going on, a lot of really cool things. And with that always comes big things of struggles also. I kept smelling the lavender that I put next to my bed. And the only time I would smell it is when I'd open myself up and say, okay, Rhonda, stop getting at things that aren't working. Come on, work back into gratefulness. Like, what is happening? And I was literally talking to me like myself like this. This is why I wanted to do the show on this morning. So when I put my hand to my heart or I opened myself up, I could smell and be in my surroundings, and I could start yawning and start relaxing more. And I start talking to my lavender next to my bed. And I said, thank you, lavender, for smelling so good. You're so calming. You help me get grounded here. And then probably within a few minutes, I'm off doing something else in my brain, but then it kept bringing me back. And so instead of my nervous system going, woo, and just like being all over the place, my nervous system started slowing down. I could feel it because I could start hearing and being in the space more. I could start smelling, like my sensories were starting to open up more. So my definition of gratitude is that you get to be present in the moment. You get to see how you react, interact, the way that you get to show up. That you learn to keep your heart open and realize that that's the safest place to be. And that helps you connect with other people. And then you have more of safety and support for yourself, for your friends, and the list goes on. So if I go back to the story of when I wanted to do these 10 days of gratitude, I started off really good. First 2 days, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. The third day, we're talking the third day. All of a sudden, I'm embarrassed that I'm blasting out there that I'm grateful for something. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, well, there's people out there that are challenged. So if I go out there and I start being boisterous, then that's embarrassing, because how dare I think that I'm better than somebody because I am putting out there how special I am because I'm grateful of stuff. Okay, so that was the first thing. I can hear that through my childhood too. And I mean, there's a reason for it. If you're feeling insecure about, like not having enough gratitude and you think that it's not okay to be all, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. The other thing was, I started recognizing I could only think a couple things. I couldn't connect like authentically, deeply being happy, loving on myself first to understand how to love and approach others. Couldn't get there. Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever said you were going to do something and it just seems so easy? And then you start getting into it and you go, here, wait, I've been saying bad stuff about others because they're doing this thing and it looks so easy. And now I'm trying to do it and I realize how unprepared I was for putting gratitude out there. And so I literally shut it down and I was hoping like nobody was even watching my posts. Oh yeah, Rhonda, you're not important. Don't worry about it. Nobody saw your posts. But if you're posting, people are like enjoying and appreciating, maybe even following. So I hid. So that's one of my first stories about confusion because I really want to feel resilient. But I can't feel resilient if I'm tearing myself up. If I'm saying you can't be out there acting like you're happy because there's people that are very unhappy. So how dare you act happy? Confusion. So how can I get up the steps to feel strong, to believe that I can run my own business, that I can have people that are even interested in what I'm doing? So you come back, you start recognizing I am feeling confused. But you got to say it. You can't just go and eat a big meal because you're scared or go drink or whatever you do. So you start thinking, okay, I'm confused. Why am I confused? Anybody else following this story? Have you ever felt that when you're trying to bring in more love and all of a sudden it actually closes you up because you're opening yourself up going, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. And then something in your exterior, not interior, but maybe interior too, just shuts you down. And so then all of a sudden the confusion happens again. And then the happiness factor, you realize, oh, that's good. That's how real life is. And I used to believe that real life was that you could only be happy for so long. And I had my own definition. It's not like I went to people and interviewed them and said, what do you think about how much happiness you can have in your life? Because I can only go on vacation for 2 days. And if I go more than that, like 5 days or 7 days, I am like messed up because I'm like, I can't wait to go back home. So I need to work. I need to be busier because this is like too relaxing. I'm not used to feeling relaxed. And all my chaos would just cave in on me. And I couldn't even enjoy vacations. I just wanted to go, 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 go. I was like very afraid to stop. And even in real life, like day to day stuff, I was afraid to stop. That's when the confusion was coming in. So take a moment for yourself to think about like, where does this sit for you? Where do you feel like you would like to have less confusion, show up consistently as the big, bold badass that you are? So if I went to everybody at that time and started talking about this, like, I only feel like I can have this much fun. To me, it was like, it was just a definition. Like, no, this is how I feel. Nobody understands me because this is how I feel. But I didn't know there was such a thing about mindset learning and learning more about myself through the heart until I started reading more about the brain and the synapses. And I'm going to throw out some terms like epigenetics, learning about patterns, learning about generational stuff, and starting to feel the more sensitive me. And there were times that I fell back. Now, this is where I want to go because I want to ask you when you started opening your heart or you're learning to today, were there times when you felt you were just like out of your head, crazy, because you were just so afraid to really open yourself up and be with yourself? I had to learn that. And I had to learn that it was going to be okay. Because I would get scared, I would get anxious if I did not open myself, if I opened myself up. So let's just say that I have something I'm working on and it feels great, everything's in alignment, and I'll bring back my accounting days, the my CPA time. And I know what I want to share. Okay, so I have a bit of a technical background, so bring your story and let me share with you this. And so I would say I want to take care of my team. I want to make sure that they can pull all the reports that they need to, that they can instantly get the information that they need to. And so then I would go in the back end of the office of the software we were using, Lawson is what it was called. And I would start building, debits and credits and assets and liabilities, revenues and expenses, all that kind of good stuff. And I was going, I felt gratitude. I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be serving a purpose. This is going to be great. But I knew there was somebody that was in my sphere that was saying, why are you doing that? You can just data enter it all. Like she was like, really? Like, do it this way. Do not build in that software. I'm like, Harriet, I'm an accounting manager. I want to make those choices to help my team. So as I was going along, I was getting more and more afraid, because when I first started this situation of building these reports, I felt so good about myself. But as time went on, the wear and tear of me telling myself that I wasn't very smart, telling myself these things that would just like make me feel yucky on my skin, like I just feel so yucky and weighed it down. So are there times in your life where you just felt so weighted down, and that you couldn't even figure out why you were feeling that way? You didn't know all those words. They estimate like about 60,000 words we say to ourselves a day. And they're just, if you keep moving and moving along, you can't hear those words. It just keeps going and going and going. And so if you have your patterns, then they're just going to come at you. It's known that the stuff that you think about, it's about 90% of that is the same stuff over, and over. It's a repeated thing. So if you have anything in your background with anything that did not serve you when you were younger, I mean, everybody has stuff going on. So if you don't know that you have those patterns, they're going to show up. Those patterns would show up when I was doing big things where it was like out of my comfort zone, but I know I can do it. And I would all of a sudden just screech, halt. And so I stopped myself from doing an A++ job. You know what I did? Anybody else out here that is consistently doing stuff that's wrong, like you know that you're rocking awesome, and you get into something and somehow your old pattern comes back, and then people go, oh yeah, you know that Rhonda. Oh yeah, she always does that. She does this, she does that. And then the story sticks to that person. And that's the only way I was seen. Nobody really saw what was happening, the inner works. And this is where I start looking at the 7 ways to communicate, being innovative, being energetic to what you're talking about, opening your vocals so that people understand what you're thinking. Because I was thinking a lot of great stuff, but I would shut myself down. And anytime I'd make a mistake, I would go deeper and deeper. Well, most of the time when you're making mistakes, people catch those. Not all the great stuff you're doing. They're always looking at what's that stuff that you're doing over there. That's not good. So I stopped myself from being an A++ person and not finishing the project fully, just releasing it. Not even reviewing a little bit and going, oh yeah, that looks good. And then people ran the reports. They're ready to go. They're doing all this stuff, and everybody's bringing me reports back. Well, Rhonda, it didn't capture this. It didn't capture that. And like after a while, people are getting really frustrated. Of course, this is like an embarrassing conversation to have, on the Rhonda Lou Moxy show, telling you this stuff, because this is where I used to be. If you're showing up like that today, or you used to be like that, love on yourself for the evolution of where you are, and to get further and moving forward in the Rhonda Lou Moxy style. You want to rid yourself of that more and more of the past stuff that didn't work for you. Recognize that you didn't give yourself the step by step because maybe you were told that you weren't smart. Maybe you were told that you were ugly and not worthy of stuff, and that things would happen when you'd show up feeling like a victim when you were younger. And that victim now, as an adult, it's hard because it holds you back from where you want to get to. And if you keep holding yourself back, then you're going to keep going up a steep, steep hill, and you're not ever going to get what you really, truly want. You're going to believe that you don't deserve anything or at a level that you wish I could be there. I wish I could be that person. But what if you say, I am that person? And every project and everything that you're stepping into that you're grateful for, that you take a moment to breathe and look at what you're doing, that you love on yourself even more than you ever could your whole entire life. Because maybe you weren't taught these skills. Maybe you didn't learn to nurture and to nurture yourself. And as a parent, I had to learn to nurture at a deeper level, and I'm still learning to nurture. How about you? Where do you stand on learning to grow into being resilient, to knowing that you got this, to know that anytime the confusion comes up, that's a moment to back off and start listening to yourself, to start really showing up as the authentic you. The other day, this is the last part of this because we're in the last minutes here. The other day, someone came to me and said, what I say is not really me. My words are just my words. And so you don't really know me. You only know what I say. I said, but isn't that how people get to know you? Isn't that what you're displaying, like you're in alignment? I do remember thinking that too. Like, oh, wait till somebody really gets to know me. Wait till they really get to know me. And it's like, but that's a mask. Why wouldn't you actually be yourself? Why would you say all those words and do all those different things and react and do all this stuff when it's really not you? What does that mean? So I want to send that off with you today. What's your gratitude practice this week? What's your resilient space that you're really boldly growing, that you're asking up for yourself so that you step into you, but in a way that everybody gets to see you, that you're not hiding that. You can live every single day like that in business, in your family, in everything you do, because you're spot on and not 100% because we're human. So think about where you are and what the layers you are so that you get tenacious, that you get bold and wild, and that you create more awareness and energy that brings more money, brings better relationships, brings you right at the forefront where you feel strong, resilient, that you're ready to kick some butt. Are you ready to do that? Then you're ready for the Rhonda Lou Moxy approach. My name is Rhonda Liebig, but I love being Rhonda Lou Moxy in this space because we're talking about how do you get in that space where you're connected, in that spiritual zone, in that in giving back, in that gratitude, and learning about yourself, and learning about the people around you, and learning about your actions, and learning how to be tenacious and wild and crazy. And if you like this stuff, I want to make sure that you keep connecting. Right now, we're launching podcasts and we're doing an excellent job getting in there, bringing everything together. And so I want you to make sure if you're seeing us on YouTube, like us, add a comment, and share with me if there's a purpose for you wanting to launch your podcast. And I'll make sure I put a link so that you can find it. But I want you to really think about this. If you used your voice authentically the way that it feels true in the heart, you'd never hurt anybody. The brain always one-ups, always wants to be right. But when you come here, there's something new that happens. Now you're coming down into the space of this is who I am. And no matter what room you're in, This is who you are. So I'll put some links down there. I would love to hear from you. I appreciate you. Namaste. Have a fabulous day and happy Thanksgiving if you do Thanksgiving in your family. Appreciate you.